Hi, this is the presentation based on testing review, and I am Ashpreet Kaur from Post Graduation Group 4. And the software that we have created is the Employee Training System. So, in this presentation, I'm just giving an overview that what is testing is and how we performed a testing in our software. So what actually a testing is in the testing, which is actually a phase in a software development in which we check whether there is any presence of defects, the earlier an assumption of a risk that can be that is already recorded in the risk assessment. So we need to check those uh, documentation while we are testing if it is affecting the software or not, and the completeness of the software has been accomplished, and the bugs, and if there is a presence of bugs and how it changed the behavior of a system, we need to control that. So on that, all of these bases, the testing is performed. So when we start a phase of a testing, there are certain things that we need to make sure we need to take into consideration, and the first thing is to plan the test. So to plan a test, we need to read the project description, what is required, and what that the whole project is based on, and what is the quality criteria to make sure that while we deliver the software, it should be quality assured. And while we are testing it, so whether the functionality of the software has been covered or not. So the next comes the testing strategy. In testing strategy, we can make test cases and certain metrics that which is required to make a strategy that how we need to go through the test, and the risk and the limitation which occurs in the risk assessment documentation that we have recorded. So on that basis, we can plan the risk and the limitation of a software. So the components and the function that needs to be set. So these component, it's present in our employee training system. So I have just given the overview of it. So that needs to be tested. So there is a front end which will be the username and password user to log in with the user credentials, and there's a backend. There are multiple server which with which the front end will connect it to the backend. So we can also use the third party software and make sure that we its compatibility with different environment. Like we have been using Ruby Ruby as a database, whether it's compatibility with the GitHub server or not. So in that case, we are using a third party software and making sure that yes, it is being compatible with the environment, and the whole program code is on the front end as well as the back end. So we need to test the main program code as well. So there comes the specification of testing. So in that case, we make that sure that we have the requirement that were from end user, we have completed it. We have completed the milestone 1 as well as milestone 2, and while we have completed it, we also tested those milestones whether it's working or not. And while we have tested, so there comes certain functionality which were actually required, and all of the modules were actually there. So it satisfied the requirement of a software and has been verified with the acceptance criteria. So the next thing is to manage a test. So to manage a test, we make a checklist from of a client requirement, or we call it commitment sheet as well, in which we need to make sure that every requirement has been given to us should be there in the software. So we manage the checklist so that we can manage the test that needs to be performed on every module. And the unit testing has been performed on each function so that the individual function is working. And when we combining different modules, and then it performs integration testing, so all of those functions needs to be in a working state. So we have managed all those tests. So in the test management, there comes the bugs and the risk that we need to resolve. The risk is the earlier assumption or may arise at that moment, which hasn't the developer has dreamt of. So in that case, we need to resolve the risk, and we need to manage it, we need to record it. And after resolving those bugs and the risk, then how the behavior of the software has been changed or not. So in that cases, we need to manage their test cases. So to execute a test, we need to build a test cases to check the functionality of each and every component, and we need to test the data whether it's a valid data or not. So we need to test the data as per the system, and what is the actual and the expected result, whether it matched or not. And there are different type of testing that we can perform, which is unit testing, which is for single module. There's the integration testing while we are combining different modules, and the system testing when we have make sure that the entire system work together. So there comes the bug tracking, the it's type of report that we need to maintain while if there has been risk or any bugs occur or has been assumed earlier. So these type of risk as well as bug, it actually occur at that time when we are building a software. Maybe we have missed few things. There are different type of bugs which can sometime a bug, it doesn't affect a particular module, but when the different module combines, it affect the behaviors of other module. And so these type of bugs that we need to track and make sure that there is the uh, compatibility with different modules while we are checking the bug. And there are multiple test cases that we need to perform, so that there won't be any bug left in the software. So in the conclusion, so this were the whole testing phase. So we have according to the requirement, we have made the full-fledged working system, and there was no compromise with the requirement, and the function was easy to return as per the given presentation of the milestone 2 in the client meeting. So this was what the whole about the concept of testing and the